Series 1, Program 4. This is Workout E. We're going to be doing some light strength training here. So we're going to begin with a goblet split squat. We're going to start with the knee underneath the hip. So in that bottom position, I want to make sure that that knee is underneath the hip. The front foot is slightly in front of the pad. So we don't want it too far back, we don't want it too far up, so it's just slightly forward. We're going to press into the Dorito foot. Lock the leg up at the top. Lower the hips down, slow and controlled. So again, from this position, she's pressing through that foot. She's locking out at the top. She's controlling her hips down, slow and controlled. For week 1, we're going to focus on controlling the hips down. Week 2, pressing into the Dorito foot. Week 3, keep that tall and tight position. Next, we're going to move into the get up. Now, with the get up, just depending on where you're at with the members, again, everybody's at different levels. The big thing that we want to make sure that we're remembering when we're going through those get-ups is just those progressions. So the hip roll to elbow, screwing the arm into the ground, pushing the hips back and raising the chest up. So as we're going through these motions, just make sure you're progressing correctly with the get-up. So when we're going through it, one thing that we're going to focus on for the first week is pulling the elbow during the roll. So if you're struggling with the get up, with getting yourself onto the forearm, what we're going to focus on this week is pulling that elbow back. So as you're rolling, I want you to imagine that you're pulling your elbow behind you to raise your chest up. For week 2, we're going to be focusing on bridging through the heel. So we've progressed from that hip roll. Now this week, we're going to focus on pushing the heel as you bridge. So your weight shifted from your heel into your hand as you bridge. For week 3, we're going to make sure that we're going to focus on sweeping the thigh and packing the shoulder. So if you've progressed continuously with the get up, we're going to make sure that when we're sweeping the thigh and we're packing the shoulder. So by packing the shoulder, we're screwing that shoulder back. And then when we think about sweeping the leg, I like to think that the upper thigh is what's pulling back. So another way to think about this motion, because a lot of people get stuck here at the sweep, is to think a fire hydrant. So when we look at the fire hydrant, it's the thigh being pulled out. So when I think about that bridge, and I go through that sweeping motion of my leg, mainly it's my thigh doing that fire hydrant position, but just reverse. And then we're going to finish up through the rest of the get up depending on where they're at. So after that, we're going to move into quadruped shoulder cards. Begin with our hands and knees. What Kirsten's going to do next is she's going to get ready to shake someone's hand with her thumb up. Next, she's going to raise her arm up as far as she can. And then she's going to turn her thumb down and draw a big circle with her arm. Good. She's going to go all the way to the beginning. Then she's going to pull her arm back as far as she can. Turn the thumb around and finish where she started. So when we're going through that for week 1, the focus is going to be moving slow and controlled. For week 2, we want to be drawing the best circle that our members can. And what that means is some people may not have that full range of motion, and it might be kind of like really triangular or rectangular, whatever the fuck happens actually. But just think, they're going to do their best version of their own circle. And then for week 3, we're going to focus on creating tension through the tight spots. So what that means is, let's say I get stuck here, create a lot of tension by gaining a lot of force and focusing on getting tight in that shoulder as you start reaching back through the tight spots. Next, we're going to move into bench press. We're going to start with the shoulders, with the hands about shoulder width apart. From here, we're going to pull the elbows down and end at the armpit. Next, we're going to press the feet into the ground and press that weight up. From that position, we're going to lower down the weight slow and control. Press back up. Good. Now, for week 1, we're going to focus on that Macho Man position. So that Macho Man position, again, shoulders are back. We're driving our feet into the ground. Hips and upper back and head are on the bench. So remember, we're going to go over Macho Man for week 1. Week 2, we're going to focus on driving your feet into the ground as you're benching. For week 3, we're going to make sure, again, we're bringing back that arrow position. So as you're going down, make sure that those elbows, they're not too far out, they're not too far in. We're creating that bottom position of a row. As soon as we're done there, we're going to move into our USB iso hold single leg glute bridge. We're going to begin by ripping the bag in half. We're going to squeeze the armpits down. She's going to raise one leg up. Flatten the low back and raise the hips up and get tight. Slow and control back down. Good. Now with this motion, we're going to be doing 6 on each side. So for our first week, we're going to focus on driving the heel into the ground. For week 2, lower down the hips, control. For week 3, make sure at the top you're squeezing your glute. As soon as you're done there, we're going to move into that half kneeling open kettlebell stretch. Lastly, we're going to go into our open half kneeling kettlebell stretch. We're going to go into this open half kneeling position. So a half kneeling position starts with the knee forward, open, you're just opening the gate. We're going to start with the kettlebell in front of your hips, and you're going to move the bell towards the ankle. Now when you're going through this motion, drop the hips behind your heel and press through the front of the foot to return. So again, as Kristen moves, she's dropping the weight behind the heel, pressing through the front of her foot to return. And so for conditioning, we have an AMRAP as many rounds as possible. We're going to do single arm swings, 5 on each side, med ball squats, 5, and then 5 mountain climbers. So for our week 1 with that single arm swing, what we're going to focus on is keeping that armpit down. So as Kristen goes through this swing, she's going to keep her armpit down. For week 2, she's going to wait on letting the bell push her back. And for week 3, she wants to keep her shoulders level. So at that bottom position, make sure shoulders are level and one arm isn't rotating more upward than the other. As soon as she's done with those swings, she's going to move into med ball squats. And for week 1, she's just going to focus on controlling the squat. For week 2, she's going to pause at the bottom. And for week 3, she's going to be explosive up. Yeah. Lastly, we're going to wrap up with mountain climbers. We're going to do 5 on each side. So with these mountain climbers, we want to start with our hands underneath the shoulders. It's just like a pup position. So for week 1, she's going to pull her knee up and pause, bring it back down, and then alternate. For week 2, her focus is on pushing the foot into the ground. And for week 3, her focus is going to be on controlling the hips. Again, we don't want those hips moving around too much.